Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user ThrowawayVacay221. My girlfriend is convinced that I tried to cheat on her. I, 27 male, and my girlfriend, 24 female, we'll call her Evie, have been dating for about a year now. Just this past week, we went on a big vacation with our friend group, including her best friend Tara, 26 female. 3 nights ago, Evie and I were in our hotel room just chilling together when I went down to the bar to get a bottle of wine and some ice for us. And I saw Tara at a table with some guys I'd never seen before and she looked pretty tipsy. I didn't think it looked all that safe for her to be on her own like that, so I went over and made small talk and eventually asked if she needed help getting to her hotel room since it was pretty late. She agreed and we left together, but once we were in the little walkway heading back to the main hotel building, she backed me against the wall and made a pass at me, asking me to spend the night with her. I put my hand on her shoulder to move her back and turned her down and told her she was drunk and I'd never do that to Evie, and I left her there to get back to her room by herself since I was uncomfortable. Here's where I effed up. I didn't tell Evie about it when I got back to our room because she and Tara are so close and I didn't want to ruin the vacation. But I didn't tend to tell her once we got back home. The problem is that the next day at breakfast while I was sleeping in, Tara told Evie that I was the one who'd made a pass at her while she was drunk and that I'd gotten jealous and possessive when I saw Tara talking to those guys, and needless to say, Evie believed her. She came back to the room just quietly crying and told me what Tara had told her and that she'd be staying in Tara's room for the remainder of the trip and that we'd talk about our relationship when we got back home. Basically, she's going to dump me. Now, I know what half of the comments are gonna say, to cut my losses with Evie if she's enough of an idiot to believe Tara over me. The trouble is, I really messed up at the beginning of our relationship after our first fight. I got really drunk and started messaging girls trying to hook up with them, and Evie found out and was absolutely devastated. So I understand if she doesn't 100% trust me with stuff like this. Also, she's only known me a year and a half at most, and Tara her whole life. And she considers Tara her second chance at having a sibling since Evie's older brother died when he was 18 and she was 10. Also, there's the fact that I'm madly in love with her and she's the girl I want to marry and I just can't lose her over this. I don't understand why Tara lied, but right now my priority is getting Evie back. How do I fix this? What should my next steps be? OP, this is an incredibly tough situation. It's like everything is perfectly aligned to make you look like you're lying. Or at least to make it look like Tara is the one that's actually telling the truth while yours is sketchy at best. But you're focusing on the right thing, which is getting Evie back. Why did Tara lie? We don't know yet, but I would think it's just to cover her ass because, you know, she probably thought you were gonna tell on her, so she just tried to beat you to the punch. Anyway, in order to get Evie back, I would say that you need some solid proof. And I know it sounds like an oversimplification because duh, proof of course, but the thing is OP is really backed into a corner here. The value of his word is not at 100%, so it's a he said she said situation and Tara did beat him to the punch. So what kind of proof would actually help OP? Maybe a witness that they saw you taking Tara or walking with Tara, or maybe a hallway security camera that might have caught the moment where she tried to pin you up against the wall and you told her to move or you moved her away. But I would say something along those lines that solidly states that you weren't doing anything wrong. Another solution, which is more of a Hail Mary in my opinion, would be to confront Tara and like straight up ask, why is she lying? Maybe you're in a state where you can record that and show it to Evie without getting into trouble. I don't know. I don't think Tara would go along with that, but who knows. And other than that, I would say just hope that Evie believes you over Tara. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Hardix Muffinks says, that's a tough one, buddy. I know hindsight is 2020, but if something happens, you should always be the one to tell them. Think about how confused and embarrassed she must have been because she didn't even know you ran into her friend. I'd give her the full story, apologize for not thinking you needed to tell her, and let her know how important she and this relationship are to you. Don't smother her and let her process, but stay adamant about the truth. But be kind, because hearing your friend who's like a sister would betray her like that probably hurts more. HealthyBox5 says, Tara controlled the narrative to cover her own ass. You need to apologize, tell her your side of the story, and let her know you intended to fill her in after the trip was complete. Whether she believes you or Tara is up to her. You should have come clean right after it happened, but that moment is past. Throwaway 37865 says, you need to tell Evie all of this and hope she believes you. It's your best chance at fixing things. If she doesn't believe you, the relationship might be over for now. She might eventually figure out Tara and what she's been doing if it happens to her again. Tara's an a-hole. In general, this makes things really difficult because she most likely won't be able to hang out with both of you again. The only other advice I have is maybe to pressure Tara into telling the truth, but confront her in person. Don't text her where she could use that against you. Like, straight up take Evie and go over to Tara's and ask her why she said something untrue. If you're being truthful, you're 100% allowed to do that. If Tara doesn't confess, you can hope Evie takes your word for it. Tell Evie what happened and ask her to organize something with Tara where Tara doesn't know that you're coming, and then point blank ask her why she lied. She most likely is never used to someone confronting her. Trust is really easy to destroy in relationships and hard to cultivate. Additional information from OP's comments. Just to clarify, I don't think she's an idiot. Quite the opposite. Actually, she's the smartest person I've ever met. Some of you totally misread that part of the post. What I meant was that I've been on this website long enough to know that the common response to posts like this is, just leave her, she's an idiot for not believing you. And I wanted to illustrate that this isn't the case with what's happened here, that she did have every probable cause not to believe me. Alright, well, the community is telling OP that he just has to tell Evie the truth and hope that the chips fall where they may. And I have to say that after the comments, I'm reminded that I forgot something in my commentary, which is of course that OP should have told Evie right away. As soon as he left Tara, he should have gone to his room and told her what happened. Anyway, it's time to move on with the first of two updates that OP has given us for this story, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now, let's move on with the first update. The vacation is coming to an end and a lot has happened in the past 2 days. After I made my post here, I spoke to my best friend, Matt, who's also on vacation with us, about what had gone on and what Tara had told Evie, and I was fully prepared for him to take their side since he's got a lot of personal baggage from being cheated on in the past. But instead, he told me he believed me, and not only that, he brought up real concerns about the way Tara has been treating Evie in the time that we've known them. I can't say I've ever noticed it because Tara and I have never hung out that much since our personalities clash, and Evie only ever has nice things to say about her. But Matt pointed out multiple occasions where Tara has put Evie down and been mean to her about her appearance and personality, and how it seems like Tara has this really manipulative hold over her. Looking back on it now, I definitely see it and I feel guilty for never noticing sooner. So he and I devised a plan to talk to Evie together without Tara there, to hopefully get her to see sense. At first, she didn't want to hear me, but after Matt explained his concerns, she got all quiet and sat down and just kinda stared off for a moment. Evie told me that she didn't think Tara would do something like that and she never means to be hurtful. Evie called herself too sensitive sometimes, but I could see her starting to doubt Tara and make sense of things. Eventually, I managed to convince her that we should confront Tara together, and she agreed. As you can probably expect, Tara got incredibly defensive, pulled out the crocodile tears, and she started accusing Evie of choosing a man over her. I could see Evie losing her confidence, but she eventually told Tara that she didn't believe her, that she thought Tara had left her lying habits behind in their teen years. Tara then switched in a split second and got really nasty and vicious and started calling Evie names that I won't repeat here. And more or less admitted to lying because, in her opinion, Evie doesn't deserve the nice things that she gets, including me apparently. She was screaming so loud, people in the next hotel room came to check on us. I got Evie out of there and told Tara to stay away from her and to not try to contact her. When Evie and I were alone and had made up, she told me that wasn't the first time Tara had been nasty to her like that, and that it happened a lot in their teens and early 20s when Evie didn't go along with what Tara wanted, but that it hadn't happened in a few years, so she thought Tara had changed and gotten better. Oh wow, that switch in Tara's face must have been scary, from going like, oh, I didn't do anything, to, oh, you don't deserve anything. Yikes, poor Evie, but it's a good thing that this happened, man. Honestly, didn't expect this one. It's great to know that your friend Matt was there to have your back. And the good thing is that now Evie knows the truth about Tara, so you're in the clear. Anyways, let's move on to that final update to see how this story ends. We all managed to get home okay from the trip, and Evie stuck to her word on not being in contact with Tara. But Tara has tried ceaselessly to get in contact with her. When Evie blocked her number and social media accounts due to the endless calls and messages, Tara started calling the house phone or using payphones to try and bypass the caller ID. It's gotten really psycho too, as she's been calling us in the middle of the night. We're reluctant to get rid of the house phone because Evie's parents are technophobes and prefer to call her up the old-fashioned way, and that's how they stay in contact. When the calling didn't work, she started sending Evie letters. The contents of this were telling her that she's made a huge mistake, that I'm abusing and manipulating Evie, and that Tara is just trying to keep her safe. There were even a few vague threats of self-harm in there if Evie didn't forgive her and dump me. I honestly thought Tara was just a reformed mean girl who loved attention when I first met her, but after all of this, it's clear she has mental issues, like a personality disorder or something. On Friday, she showed up at the apartment while I was cooking and told Evie again that I was abusing her and that she would call the police to make a complaint if that's what it took for her to leave me. She even brought up Evie's dead older brother and told her that he'd be so disappointed to see her with a man like me. Oh, that's a cheap shot. Yet, Evie told her gently and calmly to leave, and that she didn't want to get a restraining order against Tara, but that she would if this kind of stuff continued. It astounds me that she can still be empathetic and kind to Tara after everything that's happened. But since Friday, we haven't heard anything, and the calls to the apartment have stopped. I suggested filing a restraining order anyway, but Evie is reluctant to because all of our friends have now cut Tara off, and it seems like she's going through some kind of mental breakdown. Evie doesn't want to do anything that might make Tara do something stupid to herself, so she has contacted Tara's parents to express her worry and see if they can do something to help her get professional help. I think I'm still going to try and convince her to get a restraining order though if things start up again. But the more I learn about Tara and her past with Evie, the more I'm relieved that the friendship is dead and she can no longer use my girlfriend as an emotional punching bag. I struggle to have sympathy for this person. Extended from OP's comments. I think Evie's parents didn't want to stop using a landline just out of stubbornness at first. They had a weird insistence that Evie and I should have a home phone, but since I've posted this and we explained everything that is happening with Tara to them, they've agreed to contact us via our mobiles. Also, my girlfriend isn't a doormat. She's the victim of an extremely abusive friendship that's been festering since she was a kid. Also, she's no longer in contact with Tara and has no plans to be in the future. She's just taking preventative measures to make sure Tara doesn't hurt herself or somebody else by contacting Tara's parents, who Evie has a good relationship with. Tara's parents have thankfully been understanding and have managed to stop the harassment for now and have threatened to 5150 her if she continues. Alright OP, well I'm gonna call this a happy update for you and for Evie. You were cleared of all charges and Evie got to see the truth about her friend Tara, who who will apparently get 5150'd by her parents if she continues to harass Evie. Now, I had absolutely no idea what 5150 meant, so I looked it up. And apparently it's a code in California for when somebody's experiencing a mental health crisis that they will be involuntarily detained for 72 hours in a psychiatric hospitalization. Of course, when they're deemed a danger to themselves or to others. And in this case, she is harassing Evie. So it's good to know that Tara's parents are ready to pull the trigger on the 5150. Anyways, OP, here's wishing you and Evie the best in the future. Take care and thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Absurd Nihilistic. Yet another new manager facing the consequences of their actions story. I'll keep the details as vague as possible because I'm still with this organization. I work for a government department. We have offices and locations all over the state. I'm based out of a city that's about 2 and a bit hour train ride to our head office. At the time, I was working in a term that had members working remotely all across the state, looking after policy, process, and quality assurance. Our old manager had gone and gotten himself promoted for being genuinely brilliant at his role, so our new manager, Steve, was hired in from the glorious world of banking. And he was here to whip us lazy public servants into shape. A few days after he began his role, he called us all to a teleconference to inform us he wanted all of us to be at the head office 8 AM tomorrow morning for an all-day in-person team meeting. He wanted to see us in a meet space, to size us up, understand what we were doing, and see where we weren't keeping up with the private sector. As I mentioned, due to the nature of the work we were doing, we were all across the state. So in-person, whole team meetings were rare, and if they occurred at all, they were booked weeks in advance. We were all adept at video conferencing long before COVID. Some of us tried to tell our new high-flyer manager that almost none of us were in the same city as him, and to be there on such short notice would mean travel expenses, meal allowances, overtime, etc. He didn't seem to care and told us in no uncertain terms to just be at the head office tomorrow at 8 AM before abruptly hanging up. Now, I should explain something. I'm one of a handful of union delegates in our department. I know our award back to front, specifically the sections dealing with travel, allowance, and overtime. So cue Malicious Compliance. If Steve wanted us there, fine, but it'll cost him. I quickly went about emailing my team what Steve had done by requiring us to be in the head office at 8 AM and what to do. Because we'd had to travel outside our normal work hours, our workday clock started ticking the moment we left our homes and stopped once we got home. Some of our team traveled overnight. They were entitled to overtime to travel, a dinner allowance, and accommodation for the night, and the same returning. As someone traveling before 7 AM, I was entitled to a breakfast allowance, lunch allowance, and if I got home after 9 PM, a dinner allowance also. So, I left my house at 5 AM to catch the only train that would get me there in time. The train was running slightly behind, but I made it in time. So, my first 3 hours of my workday down and I'd done no work. After a brief period of us introducing ourselves to Steve, he proceeded to spend the next 4 hours telling us about all of the things that he did at the bank, how he made so much money for them, where they'd sent him as a holiday bonus, how we're all stuck in the past in the public service, the work he'd seen wasn't up to private sector standards, etc. He had all the cocksureness of a finance bro who had always failed upwards because others had picked up his slack. By 3 PM, my entire team were into overtime pay territory, and Steve was just warming up with his non-charm offensive. Another 3 hours go by with Steve verbally patting himself on his back, deeply in love hearing his own voice, but all I hear is ka-ching ka-ching. Steve decided that 5 PM was a good time to finish up. He stopped mid-sentence, looked at his watch, and unceremoniously said, "That's all for today, go home now," and walked out. After I and a few others gave a few awkward shrugs to each other, we all packed up and started to make our separate ways home, after doing no work all day. I myself got to the train station pretty quickly and saw a train was leaving soon that would get me home around 8 PM. or I could catch the all stations train and get home closer to 9:30 p.m. You know what? No matter how fast I could run, I just couldn't catch that earlier train. Damn, I'd just have to catch that all stations train and be on the clock for another hour and a half, plus have my dinner paid for. Such rotten luck. Winky face. I submitted my claims the next day. 4.5 hours at double rate, my train tickets, my taxi fares to and from the train station, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner allowances. For me alone, it was close to a $500 expense claim. The rest of my team followed suit and ensured they'd claim everything too. Steve tried to fight us on approval for the claims, but quickly learned that unlike in the world of banking, most public servants are union, and we'd raise living hell if he denied our award guaranteed allowances. His all-day Steve Fest symposium blew a good $6,000 hole in his budget. Needless to say, while Steve was our manager, he never required us to attend an in-person meeting again. Video conferencing was just fine. He only lasted 6 months before leaving for new opportunities. He just went back to his old job at the bank. I guess he was the one who couldn't keep up. Well, OP, it's a big win for you and your team because you guys got paid additionally just because some idiot's ego needed to talk a lot. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.